Welcome to BL Stories, where romance, drama, and unforgettable boys' love come to life. Love knows no limits, and the best stories aren't always straight. Subscribe now and join our growing BL-loving family. Cyrus Ward is poised to become the alpha of the Sylvan Ash Pack, characterized by his strength and determination, yet he is constrained by his overbearing father, Cyrus Ward, who envisions a specific mold for him as a leader. Jackson yearns for the freedom to rule alongside his destined mate, whom he dreams of cherishing and protecting. In contrast, Benjamin Stirling, a timid omega who has endured life in an orphanage since the violent loss of his parents, harbors deep fears of rejection and believes he is unworthy of love due to his status. As fate intertwines their lives, Jackson and Benjamin must navigate the challenges of societal acceptance regarding their same-sex bond and face the wrath of Cyrus Ward upon the discovery of their relationship. The story unfolds through their journey of heartbreak, joy, tragedy, and unexpected revelations, highlighting Jackson's determination to protect his mate at all costs. Chapter 1. Jackson's POV. Honey in a... That was the scent that woke me, warm, familiar, and impossible to ignore. It called to me, pulling me deeper into the Sylvan Ash forest as the orange sunrise slowly crept over the horizon. With every step, fallen leaves crackled beneath my boots, and I could feel Atlas, my wolf, growing more restless in the back of my mind. "Mate?" he whispered again and again. Could it really be? My pace quickened until I broke into a clearing I knew well. An emerald field stretched before me, bright and calm, with a small, shimmering pond at its center. It was always beautiful, but today, something made it breathtaking. Someone. A small figure sat by the water's edge, his back turned to me. Even from a distance, I noticed his smooth, fair skin peeking from the collar of his sweater and the unruly curls of warm chestnut hair dancing in the wind. He was so delicate-looking that part of me worried a strong gust might carry him away like the autumn leaves around us. His small hands gently brushed through the grass at his sides. A fierce urge to protect him washed through me. I stepped out from the trees. His scent grew stronger, sweet, soft, unmistakably tied to me. How had he not sensed me yet? Was he human? No, the reaction deep in my soul told me he wasn't. Perhaps an omega? I moved closer, slow and careful. That's when he suddenly turned. His face. I nearly forgot how to breathe. Soft, rounded features that fit together as if crafted by the gods. Bright cerulean eyes framed by long lashes. Wisps of hair brushing gentle brows. High cheekbones, a small rounded chin, and the most endearing button nose. For a moment I could only stare, until I realized what those beautiful eyes were showing. I had startled him. "It's okay," I said gently, taking another cautious step forward. Surprise flickered across his face, then confusion, as if he were trying to piece something together. "My name is Jackson," I said quietly. "I'm sorry if I frightened you." He studied me carefully, mirroring how I had observed him moments ago. Then he spoke. "Jackson Ward?" he asked in a soft voice. I hesitated. Of course, he knew the name. Everyone in the pack knew the Ward family, the few of us who remained. "Yes," I answered. Something unreadable crossed his expression. "Your name?" I asked softly. "Oh, it's Benjamin. But everyone calls me Ben," he whispered. I lowered myself onto the grass a few feet away from him and offered a reassuring smile. "It's very nice to meet you, Ben." "Mates?" he asked, almost unbelieving. "It seems so," I replied with a small laugh. Ben's fingers fidgeted nervously in his lap. "How is this possible? You're going to be alpha, and I'm only an omega. You're supposed to have a strong partner as your Luna, and I'm just..." "Perfect," I said, cutting him off gently. "Ben, I can't imagine anyone better. I've never seen anyone as beautiful as you, and I've never felt such a strong instinct to protect someone. Not like this." "Jackson," he whispered. I moved closer and cupped his face in my hands. His cheeks warmed beneath my touch as he shyly looked away. No one will accept this, he murmured. You could still reject me. It would be easier for you. No, I said firmly. I don't want anyone else. I want to stay by your side for as long as I live. I want to wake up to your scent, hear your voice, and hold you close. I just want you. Tears gathered in his bright blue eyes as he looked up at me. I want you too, he whispered. I rested my forehead against his, and the bond between us surged, warm, powerful, and more overwhelming than I had ever imagined. So, who cares what anyone else thinks? I said with a soft grin. As long as I have you, that's all that matters. But I had no idea how quickly everything was about to change. Chapter 2. Jackson's POV. Twilight settled over the forest as I walked beside my best friend, Liam. We were patrolling the borders, making sure our pack remained safe. Liam was the son of Beta Vincent, destined to take his father's place the same day I became Alpha. We had grown up together, training, learning, and preparing for the roles we were born into. We were practically brothers in every way except blood. You've seemed distracted lately, Liam said. I looked at him, then away. I hadn't told anyone about Ben, not even Liam. It had been a couple of weeks since Ben and I first met, and we had shared many quiet, secret moments since then. Long conversations, gentle closeness, and the growing kind of connection that made my heart race. I was falling for him more and more each day, and the bond between us only deepened. I had learned about Ben's parents, how he lost them when he was very young. I understood the pain more than I wanted to admit. My mother died when I was young as well. I told him about my father, how he had remained mateless since then, and how I sometimes believed the moon goddess spared another person from being tied to his harshness. Ben and I had shared so much. I looked forward to every moment I could spend with him. Really? I finally answered Liam. He nodded. I've just been training a lot, I muttered. Tired, I guess. Tell me about it, he groaned. My dad has been nonstop. Too much free time on his hands, I swear. Unlike my father, Vincent had never even found a mate. He wanted a child, so he chose surrogacy, and that's how Liam came into the world. Despite that similarity, Vincent was nothing like my father. Vincent was kind, patient, and good. Liam was the same. I often thanked the moon goddess that I hadn't inherited my father's temperament. Any signs of a mate yet? I asked him. Me. Liam flushed and looked away. Nope. Nothing at all. You. I didn't answer right away, and apparently that was enough to raise suspicion. Liam stopped walking, stepped in front of me, and stared. No. Way. Pick your jaw up off the ground, Porter, I said with a sigh. You found your mate, he declared. I never said. You didn't have to. So, who is she? I walked past him, but he quickly caught up. What's going on? Why are you being secretive? He pressed. He, I said quietly. Liam froze. What? He, I repeated. My mate is a man. Silence fell between us. Then Liam's expression softened into a smile. I'm happy for you. Really? Of course. My best friend found the person he's meant for. Why would I be anything but happy? But, we're both men, I murmured. So? What does that change? A mate is a mate, Jackson. Relief washed over me. Does the alpha know? He asked. I scoffed. If my father found out, let's just say he wouldn't handle it well. I don't know, Liam said gently. He's still your father. Maybe he'll surprise you. I didn't know what to think. Could my father ever accept something like this? It was unlikely, but he also couldn't change who my mate was. Rogue. The shout cut through the air, snapping both of us out of our thoughts. Oh no, Liam muttered. We recognized Ethan's voice. He must have seen something. Liam and I sprinted in his direction. It's probably nothing, I told myself. Liam's POV. As Jackson and I ran toward Ethan, a strange feeling twisted in my stomach. Rogues rarely entered Sylvan Ash territory. Most stayed far away from Alpha Cyrus rule, but every now and then, a lost or desperate wolf wandered too close. But then an aroma hit me, fresh rain mixed with orchids. It grew stronger with each step. I glanced at Jackson, confused. He didn't seem affected at all. Why was this scent pulling me in? We reached Ethan, who stood over someone lying on the ground. A rogue. The boy looked fragile. Dirt and bruises covered his fair skin. His face was soft and delicate, his wide chocolate-brown eyes filled with fear. His blonde hair was tousled from running. His clothes were torn, and his bare feet were cut and muddy. He looked exhausted, terrified. But, mate, my wolf, Bastion whispered inside me. I froze. This couldn't be real. Either it was some kind of cruel joke, or the moon goddess had decided to challenge Alpha Cyrus in the most unexpected way. Were same-sex mates truly rare? Or had they simply been quietly erased in the past under leaders like ours? My eyes drifted to the rogue again. He was trembling uncontrollably, panic clouding every sense he possessed. There was no way he could recognize me like this. His breathing grew rapid, too rapid. I stepped forward, worry tightening my chest, but before I could reach him, his eyes fluttered shut and he collapsed fully onto the ground. I winced. Jackson's eyes glazed briefly. He was mind-linking the Alpha. When he returned to himself, he spoke quietly. Alpha wants the rogue locked up. He'll deal with him later. My heart dropped. I'll take him, I blurted out. Jackson looked at me, then at the unconscious boy, then back at me. He understood. Ethan, we've got him, Jackson said. Ethan nodded and jogged off. Was that what I think it was? Jackson asked softly. Don't know, I whispered, though we both knew the truth. Jackson gripped my shoulders firmly. Don't tell anyone. That's the only way to keep him safe. He was right. If my father had doubts about accepting Jackson's mate, he would never accept mine. I stepped forward and gently lifted the fragile boy into my arms. Jackson and I headed toward the old prison building. There's no way to keep him from being locked up, is there? I asked quietly. The Alpha would notice, Jackson replied. He'll probably just question him. Make sure he isn't a threat. The thought of the Alpha near my mate made my stomach twist painfully. Jackson continued, I'll try to distract him. Keep him away as long as possible. When we reached the prison, the guards let us pass without question. Liam and I moved to a secluded cell. The place was cold and dim, silent except for the faint echo of dripping water. I laid my mate gently onto the single bed and stepped back. The sight of him there, scared, locked away, made my heart ache. Jackson placed a hand on my back. He'll be okay, he said softly. I could only hope he was right. Chapter 3. Benjamin's POV. Fire. Red, yellow, and orange flames climbed up the walls, swallowing everything in their path. Screams. I could hear my name being called somewhere far away. The fire closed in around me, the smoke making it nearly impossible to breathe or see. It pressed closer, heavier, suffocating. Just when I squeezed my eyes shut, ready to accept the inevitable, someone pulled me away from the chaos. I jolted upright with a gasp. Blinking around my small room, I let out a long sigh of relief. Just another dream. The same dream I hated most. The day everything changed, when I lost my home, my parents, my family. I rubbed my face and pushed the memory aside. No point reliving it again. Sliding out of bed, I stretched, my feet meeting the cold wooden floor. Soft morning light peeked through the curtains. My favorite time of day lately, mostly because it reminded me of Jackson, my alpha mate. The thought made my lips curve. Jackson, tall, strong, calm in ways that grounded me. His deep voice, protective presence, none of it scared me. Quite the opposite, he felt like home. I wished I carried his mark and he carried mine. It would let everyone know we belonged to each other, and we'd be able to communicate from a distance. But it wasn't safe yet. Not for me, and even if he denied it, not for him either. I showered, got dressed, and headed downstairs. The Sylvan Ash Orphanage had been my home since my parents died. It wasn't fancy, but it was warm, full of life, and run by the kindest person I knew, Miss Tolly. 7 children lived here now, though many had passed through over the years. Being the oldest, I tried to help her however I could. As expected, I found her already in the kitchen, working on breakfast. She glanced up from a bowl of dough and smiled, the corners of her green eyes crinkling. Ben, sweetheart. Morning. Bad dream? I offered a small nod. You know I'm always here if you want to talk. I know, Miss Tolly. Just not right now. All right. Help me with these biscuits then, she said, handing me a cutter. I pressed circles into the dough while she prepared the rest. Ben? After breakfast, could you pick up some loaves from the bakery? Of course, I said, smiling. Together, we finished breakfast just as the children thundered downstairs. We served them first, our usual routine, then finally sat with our own plates. Afterward, I helped clean up before heading out. The streets were peaceful. Shops were just opening, leaves were turning bright orange and yellow, fluttering across the pavement. At Mr. Winston's bakery, the bell chimed as I entered. The elderly baker greeted me warmly. 3 loaves of wheat, please? I asked. He begged them, I paid, and soon I was back outside with fresh bread tucked under my arm. As I walked, I glanced toward the distant hillside where the Alpha's mansion overlooked the town. Jackson. Even though it hadn't been long since I'd last seen him, I missed him more than I wanted to admit. I pinned the bag to my side and reached for my phone, maybe I'd text him, and ran straight into what felt like a brick wall. The bread spilled onto the pavement as strong hands steadied me. Oh, I'm so sorry, the brick wall said. I looked up at a tall man with messy dirty blonde hair and freckles. His presence radiated authority, strong, confident, unmistakably powerful. Yeah, I wasn't looking either, I admitted. Let me replace the bread, he offered. It's okay. No, really. Come on, he insisted gently. Back at the bakery, he bought 3 fresh loaves and handed them to me. I'm Liam, he said. Liam. The name clicked faintly, but I couldn't place it. I'm Ben, I replied, shaking his hand. His grip was firm, respectful. Nice meeting you. And again, sorry about earlier. It's all right. Thanks for replacing the bread, I said. We parted ways, and I walked home feeling oddly puzzled. Something about him felt familiar, powerful like Jackson, but not in the same way. Maybe Jackson would know who he was. That reminded me, I still hadn't sent my text. Before I could type, a message from Jackson appeared. Let's meet tonight. I have something I want to show you. Wear hiking shoes. I raised an eyebrow, smiling. Whatever he was planning, I already knew it was going to be special. Chapter 4. Luca's POV. Ugh, I groaned as I slowly regained consciousness. A dull ache pulsed through my entire body. When I finally opened my eyes, I saw a small, dimly lit room. The surface beneath me was hard and far from comfortable. Where am I? I whispered to myself. That's when I noticed it, 3 walls made of dark, exposed brick, and the 4th made of iron bars. No, this couldn't be happening. I pushed myself up despite the pain and grabbed the bars, tugging as hard as I could. They didn't budge. I glanced around, looking for anything, any hole, any gap, any chance of escape. Nothing. I was trapped. I exhaled shakily and slid down to the cold stone floor. I knew running had been risky, but I hadn't expected this. Footsteps echoed from the hallway. My heart jumped, and I moved back into the farthest corner of the cell, bracing myself. A man appeared on the other side of the bars, and he was striking. Tall, broad-shouldered, his features sharp and defined. His eyes were a soft sky blue, full of concern as they met mine. Faint freckles dusted his cheeks and nose, and his short, messy blonde hair looked as though he'd run his hands through it one too many times. June whispered in the back of my mind, trying to tell me who this man was to me, but I pushed the thought away. If he was out there and I was in here, he was no friend. He had put me here. Right? I couldn't trust him. Not yet. He watched me carefully for a long moment before speaking. You're awake, he said gently. Here, I brought you something to eat. He held a small bundle wrapped in brown paper in one hand and a bottle of water in the other. He slid them through the bars. You must be starving. I looked away with a dismissive scoff, but my stomach betrayed me with a loud, undeniable growl. I glanced back at him, embarrassed. I'll just leave it here, he said softly. He set the food and water on the floor just inside my cell, then stepped back and sat down outside the bars. My name is Liam, he said. I'm sorry about all of this. It was the Alpha's order. His voice held quiet sympathy. I didn't answer. He let out a sigh. All right, I'll check on you later. He stood and walked away. When I was sure he was gone, I approached the food. I unwrapped the paper slowly. A sandwich. Simple, but to someone who hadn't eaten in days, it looked like a feast. I picked up the water bottle, hesitating for just a second. Then I sat on the thin mattress and took a small bite. It was incredible. It was also the first real food I'd had in far too long. As I ate, my thoughts drifted to Liam. He had seemed genuinely upset. As if he wanted to help, but couldn't. Maybe I shouldn't have been so cold to him. He had brought me food after all. And if June was right about what Liam meant to us, maybe, just maybe, I could trust him eventually. When I finished eating, exhaustion washed over me again. My body begged for rest. Sleep pulled me under almost immediately. And the memories returned. Appa. No. I screamed as rough hands grabbed me. Our pack had been raided. Rogues everywhere, taking what they wanted, destroying everything in their path. Including me. No. Please. I cried as I was ripped away from my parents. Luca. My mother's voice echoed in my ears. But the rogues outnumbered us. Our pack didn't stand a chance. This one will make a great pickpocket, one of the men snickered to another as he threw me over his shoulder. I jolted awake with a gasp. Breathing heavily and covered in a thin sheen of sweat, I sat up, disoriented. I rubbed my face and tried to calm my racing heart. I had spent years forced to steal for the rogues who kidnapped me. They saw my small frame and quick hands as tools they could exploit. I never wanted any part of it, but refusal meant punishment. Sometimes even threats to my life. When I turned 18, I finally escaped. I ran for days, maybe 2, maybe 3, until I accidentally crossed into a pack's territory. I was caught almost immediately. The rest was a blur of fear and exhaustion. Now, sitting here with sore, scraped feet from running barefoot through the wilderness, I wondered if I had truly escaped anything at all. I didn't choose this life. I didn't choose to become a rogue. If I'd ever had a choice, I would have stayed with my family. I would have stayed with my pack. My chest tightened. Were they still alive? Did they miss me? Had they searched for me? I leaned forward, burying my face in my hands as I took a deep breath. How am I going to get out of this? I whispered to the empty cell. Chapter 5. Jackson's POV. I heard my father's voice rumbling from his office, sharp and irritated as usual. Even from the next room, I could tell he was upset. You've got to be kidding me, he muttered. This again? You'd think it spreads like it's in the water or something. Vincent was speaking on the other end of the phone, though I couldn't make out his words. No, we've discussed this, Vince. I will not allow anything like that in my pack. Stay where you are, I'll handle it myself. The crash of the phone hitting the desk echoed through the house. He was distracted. If there was ever a moment to slip away for the night, it was now. I walked toward his office and found the door slightly ajar. Inside, he stood behind his desk, a towering, intimidating figure, always wrapped in an aura that made the room feel colder. Physically, all I inherited from him were height, build, and eye color. Everything else came from my mother. I was grateful for that. Darkness seemed to follow him everywhere. I imagined younger wolves whispering stories about him around a campfire. When I became alpha, I didn't want to be anything like that. I didn't want my pack to fear me. Father, I said. What is it? He snapped, not even looking up as he shoved papers into a drawer. I'm staying with Liam tonight. We're training early tomorrow, I lied smoothly. He paused, then sighed. Spending time with your beta is wise. He circled the desk and stopped inches from me. His presence pressed down on me, a reminder of his strength, and the subtle force of alpha energy rolled off him like a warning. My breath caught for a moment, my vision wavering. He was reminding me of my place. Yes, Father, I managed. Just like that, the pressure vanished. He moved past me, headed downstairs, and slammed the front door on his way out. Relief washed through me. I hurried to my room, grabbed a hiking pack, and filled it with clothes and essentials. Time to see my Ben. At the clearing. Ben. I called as I stepped into our meeting place. Jackson. His face lit up, and he ran straight into my arms, hugging me tightly. I missed you, he mumbled into my chest. He wore a backpack just like mine. I'd told him earlier to pack for the night, though I hadn't told him where we were going. That part was a surprise. I missed you too, I said, kissing the curls on top of his head. Did you make your arrangements? Yes. I told Miss Tolly I'm staying at a friend's. He looked up at me. Did you tell? I told him I'm staying with a friend too, I said with a chuckle. Ben let out a breath of relief. Good. So, where are we going? Just follow me. I leaned down and gave him a quick, gentle kiss. Jackson, he whined, which only made me laugh as we started up the mountain path. Our pack lived in the highlands, surrounded by mountains. Ben slipped on loose rocks twice, nearly fell once, and I finally stopped, swung my pack around, and knelt in front of him. Come on, I said. He blinked. What? Arms around my neck. He did, and with one smooth movement I lifted him onto my back. He yelped in surprise and clung to me. I laughed and kept walking. Better? I asked after a few minutes. Yeah, he murmured, resting his head on my shoulder. After a short hike, we reached the small cabin. Ben's eyes widened. Jackson, what is this? My mom left it to me in her will. I think she wanted me to have a place to get away. I hesitated. A place to get away from him. Ben looked up at me, concern flickering across his face. I didn't officially own it until this year, but now I do. Legally. And my father can't touch it. I wrapped my arms around him. And I can bring my mate on secret little getaways. I peppered his cheeks with soft kisses while he giggled. But then his expression shifted. If your father knows about it, is there any chance he could come here? No, I said confidently. He hasn't set foot here since I inherited it. It doesn't benefit him, so he stays away. Ben still looked unsure. Are you positive? I leaned forward, touching my forehead to his. Everything is fine. He's not coming here. I promise. Ben finally smiled. Okay. Come on. Let's go inside. Inside the cabin. The interior was warm and welcoming, wooden floors and walls, a stone fireplace, a soft couch facing it, and a patterned rug that tied the room together. I showed Ben around the cabin room by room, until eventually we stepped into the master bedroom. It's beautiful, Ben said softly. Not as beautiful as you, I replied without hesitation. He flushed immediately. Jackson? What? I'm not allowed to tell my mate he's breathtaking? I teased, placing my hands on his hips. Benjamin Stirling, you are the most beautiful person I have ever seen. Ben wrapped his arms around my neck, lifting his gaze to meet mine. We simply looked at each other, taking in every detail. His beauty stunned me every time. I watched his eyes drift to my lips, and he lingered there. Then he leaned in and kissed me. His lips were soft and warm, and the sweetness of the moment made my heart race. I deepened the kiss just slightly, one hand steadying his back, the other resting gently at his waist. Ben peppered light kisses along my jaw and down my neck. I took a steadying breath. We should slow down, I whispered. If we don't, I don't want things to move too fast. Ben looked up at me through half-hooded eyes, his voice barely a whisper. Maybe I don't want you to slow down. The breath caught in my throat. Gently, I lifted him, his legs instinctively wrapping around my waist, and carried him toward the bed. The moment wasn't rushed. It wasn't reckless. It was simply the two of us, wrapped in trust, warmth, and the quiet promise of something deeper. Chapter 6. Benjamin's POV. Jackson gently laid me on the bed, his expression softening as he leaned in and kissed me. The warmth of his lips traveled down to my neck, lingering at the place where my shoulder met my throat. I heard a low sound rumble from him, an instinctive pull he was clearly trying to control. Part of me wanted him to mark me right there, but I pushed the thought away, focusing instead on the comfort and closeness of his presence. I reached for him, tugging lightly at his shirt. He understood immediately and pulled it off before helping me out of mine. His hands explored my upper body with gentle curiosity, tracing the shape of my shoulders and chest. Every touch felt grounding, pulling me away from the stress and fear that had built up over the past few days. His kisses followed the path of his hands, warm against my skin, sending shivers down my spine. Jackson eventually pulled back enough to look at me, his eyes roaming my face as though trying to memorize every detail. "You're incredible," he whispered, brushing his fingers along my cheek. The admiration in his voice made my cheeks warm. I felt exposed, not because of anything physical, but because of how intensely he looked at me. Like I mattered. Like I was wanted. He kissed me again, slower this time, as if savoring the moment. When he finally pulled away, he helped me sit up so he could guide me out of the rest of my clothes, but his movements were respectful, patient, and caring. A moment later, he paused and cupped my face with both hands. "Are you okay?" he asked softly. "Yes," I breathed. "I'm okay with you." His smile grew, gentle but full of emotion. He pulled me close, letting me rest against his chest. The steady rhythm of his heartbeat helped quiet the anxious thoughts swirling in my mind. When he wrapped his arms around me, his wolf came a little closer to the surface. I could feel the warmth of his energy, the way his instincts wanted to protect and claim me. Mine reacted instinctively as well. Ivy stirred inside me, wanting to connect deeper with Atlas, Jackson's wolf. It became harder to hold Ivy back. My eyes fluttered open, and I knew from Jackson's widened gaze that he noticed the shift. "Ivy," he whispered. My wolf surfaced then, speaking through me with soft, trembling words. "Mate." Atlas surfaced too, his presence showing in Jackson's golden-tinted eyes. He leaned forward and gently pressed his forehead to mine. The moment was electric, quiet, intimate, and full of meaning. "Do you want this bond?" Atlas asked in a low voice. "Truly?" Ivy nodded. "Yes." There was no force, no rush. Only mutual understanding. Only love. Atlas moved slowly, brushing his nose against the spot just above my collarbone. When I tilted my head in consent, he gently bit down, soft enough not to hurt, firm enough to seal the bond. Warmth spread through my body, followed by a sense of safety unlike anything I'd ever experienced. My vision blurred, and Ivy retreated, letting me return to the surface. Jackson's eyes shifted back to their normal gray. "Are you okay?" he asked again. I smiled, touching the fresh mark. "More than okay." He brushed his thumb over my cheek. "I love you, Benny." My heart fluttered. "I love you too." We stayed like that for a long moment before he suggested we get cleaned up. When I stood, my legs threatened to give out, and Jackson quickly steadied me with a teasing smile. He helped me into the bathroom and turned on the shower. While I waited, I caught my reflection in the mirror, the hickeys, the tousled hair, and most importantly, the new mark on my collarbone. It tingled not from pain, but from the bond it now represented. Jackson approached from behind and wrapped his arms around me. "Sorry," he murmured. Atlas took over for a moment. I shook my head. "I'm glad he did. I wanted this." He smiled softly. "Me too." We stepped into the shower together. Jackson washed my hair, his touch gentle and careful. It was intimate in a calm, affectionate way, nothing rushed or heated, just the quiet tenderness of two people learning each other. Afterward, he wrapped me in a thick towel as I laughed, insisting I could dry myself. He only kissed the top of my head and said, "I know. But I like taking care of you." Back in the bedroom, I borrowed one of his shirts, which hung loosely on me. Jackson said I looked adorable, and I pretended not to blush. Finally, we went downstairs. Jackson lit the fireplace, and we curled up together on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, letting the warmth and glow surround us as we held on to each other, content, bonded, and safe. Chapter 7. Liam's POV. I walked quietly down the dim hallway of the Pack's prison building, my footsteps echoing off the cold walls. The thought that my mate might be one of the few prisoners here made my stomach twist with worry. Dad had been mentioning the increasing problems he and the Alpha had been dealing with, and although Dad didn't always agree with the Alpha's decisions, his position as Beta limited what he could do. The only comfort was that the Alpha hadn't visited my mate recently. A small part of me dared to hope he had forgotten about him entirely. When I reached the cell, I saw him sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall. He tossed a small balled-up piece of brown craft paper against the opposite wall, catching it gently as it bounced back. It took me a moment to realize it was the same paper I used to wrap his food, his makeshift entertainment. He paused when he sensed me there. "I brought you some things," I said softly. He stood and approached the bars, still silent as always. I handed him the wrapped sandwich and water bottle, expecting the usual exchange, quick, distant, careful. But this time, when he reached for them, his fingers brushed mine. A spark shot through me, warm and overwhelming. His hand lingered for just a moment as he met my gaze before placing the food on the bed. "I noticed you only had a thin blanket," I continued, pushing a thick folded one through the bars. He held it close immediately, his thumb brushing the fabric as if it were something precious. "And these?" I held up fuzzy socks and a small tube of ointment. "For your feet." His eyebrows rose slightly. He looked down, as if he hadn't realized how obvious the cuts were. He took the socks and ointment, holding everything to his chest before looking up at me. "Thank you," he said. His voice caught me off guard, smooth, gentle, slightly hoarse, yet incredibly beautiful. I felt myself wanting to hear more. "You know," I teased lightly, "I still don't know your name. You know mine already. Kinda unfair, don't you think?" A small grin tugged at his lips, his first smile since I'd found him here. It was breathtaking. "It's Luca," he said. "Luca," I repeated, letting the name settle. "That's a beautiful name." He blushed and looked away. For a moment, he looked younger, softer, rubbing the blanket against his fingers, eyes lowered. A few freckles dusted his nose and cheekbones. I wondered how I had missed them before. They matched mine. He had no idea how captivating he was. Why did you bring these to me?" he asked quietly. I leaned closer to the bars and replied gently, "I think you know why." His cheeks flushed again. "I'll check on you later, okay? Try to rest." Luca nodded, and I gave him a small smile before heading back down the hall, already thinking about when I could return. Luca's POV. I couldn't stop smiling as I looked at everything Liam had given me. He noticed my feet. He brought me food. A blanket. Socks. Medicine. Someone cared. I cleaned my feet using the blanket and water he gave me, then applied the ointment. Relief washed over me immediately. The soft socks felt heavenly after so long without anything warm to wear. I ate the sandwich, just as delicious as everyone he'd brought me, and drank some water before wrapping myself in the new blanket. It smelled like him, and the thought sent a strange warmth through my chest. Is this what it feels like to be held by him? I drifted off to sleep, wrapped comfortably in his scent. Sometime later, I woke to my name being called softly from a distance. I ignored it, too wrapped up in the comfort of the blanket. Footsteps retreated, then returned. I closed my eyes and pretended to sleep. Metal jingled. The cell door slid open with a heavy sound. Without opening my eyes, I knew exactly who it was. His scent filled the space instantly. He set something down and walked toward me. Gently, he tugged the blanket higher over my shoulder. Then something unexpected happened. His lips touched my forehead, light, warm, lingering only a moment. A soft burst of tingles raced across my skin. I forced myself to stay still, hoping he couldn't see the sudden blush on my face. His footsteps moved away, the cell door closed, and the lock clicked into place. Only then did I touch the spot on my forehead where he'd kissed me. I couldn't stop smiling. Maybe I should open up to him a little more. Chapter 8. Benjamin's POV. Flames. Screaming. Benjamin. The fire was closing in, the heat prickling against my skin. Just when it felt unbearable, someone pulled me away from the danger. But then, everything changed. Instead of smoke and flames, I found myself lying in a wide, breathtaking field of wildflowers. I pushed myself upright, spinning slowly as colors and soft breezes surrounded me. The sky above was a brilliant blue, scattered with gentle white clouds. It was peaceful. A place I didn't want to leave. Soft footsteps drew my attention. A small boy walked toward me. He had curly brown hair like mine and gentle gray eyes. I knelt down to meet him at his height. When he reached me, he lifted his hand and touched my cheek. I covered his tiny hand with my own. He smiled, quiet and warm, never breaking eye contact. My eyes burned with tears I couldn't explain. I just felt something strong, something familiar. Ben. Jackson's voice pulled me sharply back to reality. Wake up, love. My eyes opened to see my mate's worried expression. His hands cupped my face, now damp with tears I hadn't realized were falling. It was just a dream, Benny. I'm here, Jackson murmured gently. I pressed my hand to his chest until he lay back, then rested my head over his heartbeat. Do you want to talk about it? He asked quietly. I shook my head. The cabin was still dark, no light seeping through the windows. It was still the middle of the night. I closed my eyes again and slipped into a dreamless sleep. I woke to the warm smell of coffee. Reaching across the bed, I found only cool sheets where Jackson should have been. I frowned, sat up, and followed the soft sounds coming from the kitchen. There he was, my handsome mate, flipping a pancake in the pan. Smiling, I wrapped my arms around him from behind in the closest thing I could manage to a bear hug. Good morning, sunshine, Jackson said warmly. Good morning, I murmured into his back. He turned and pulled me into a proper hug. Hungry? He asked. Starving, I grinned, making him laugh. I made pancakes, he said proudly as he slid one last pancake onto a plate. And there's hot coffee on the island. I reached for one of the mugs, holding it with both hands as I breathed in the comforting aroma. You're adorable, Jackson said suddenly. I blinked. What? He stepped closer. Wearing my shirt that's way too big for you, holding your mug with both hands, and those messy curls. He gently ruffled my hair before placing a soft, quick kiss on my lips. My cheeks warmed immediately. We sat down at the small dining table, and I drizzled syrup over my pancakes. You know this is too much food for me, right? I joked. His only response was a loud, hearty laugh. I took a bite, and my eyes widened. These are amazing. Jackson looked pleased. Glad you like them. We ate quietly for a few minutes before my curiosity got the best of me. You said your mom left you this cabin? He nodded. She was loved by the whole pack. Always kind. Always willing to help. Losing her changed everything. What happened? I asked softly. She was sick, he said. I was young. I don't remember much. My dad doesn't talk about it. He shuts down whenever I ask. My chest tightened. I reached across the table and placed my hand over his. He offered a small, grateful smile. Thank you, he whispered. But enough of that. How are you feeling today? A little tired. You? I'm fine, he said gently. Just making sure you're all right after that dream. I nodded. I get dreams like that sometimes. I'll be fine. He hesitated. And are you okay? With everything else. His eyes flickered to my neck. I touched the spot lightly. It's okay. Nothing a scarf can't hide. He sighed. If Atlas hadn't interfered. Jackson, I interrupted gently, I'm okay. Really? His shoulders relaxed slightly. After breakfast, we packed our things and left the peaceful cabin. The quiet hike down the mountain gave me time to think. You know, maybe you should try talking to your dad? No, Jackson said firmly. He won't take it well. Maybe he'll surprise you, I suggested. You're his son. That's what Liam keeps saying. Liam? My beta, he said. We grew up together. I nodded. Maybe he's right. It's not like your father can change who your mate is. He can only be annoyed about it. Jackson glanced at me. Your optimism is ridiculous. I burst out laughing and he soon joined in. When we reached our usual meeting point, we said our goodbyes and separated. Before leaving the trees, I slipped on my hoodie and tugged the collar high enough to hide my mark. I smiled to myself. Things can only get better from here, right? Chapter 9. Jackson's POV. How about another weekend together? I couldn't help smiling at my phone as I sent the message to my mate. Hey, what's with the grin? Liam asked as he approached. We had just finished one of our scheduled training sessions, sparring in the open field. I quickly locked my phone. Is it who I think it is? he teased, nudging me with his elbow. Mind your business, I muttered, but he only smirked. You still haven't told me who he is. Protective, aren't we? I sighed deeply. He was right. As my beta, he technically had a point. His name is Ben, I said quietly. Ben? Does he have a last name? Stirling. Liam frowned thoughtfully. Doesn't ring a bell. His parents died when he was young, I added. That explains it. We stood in silence for a moment, the breeze brushing through the tall grass. You still haven't told your dad? He asked with a knowing grin. I scoffed. No. And how are you hiding that? Liam gestured to the mark on my neck, Ben's mark. Around Liam, I never bothered covering it. He hasn't seen it, I said simply. How long do you think that'll last? Liam laughed. As long as it needs to, I replied firmly. My phone buzzed again. Ben had replied. Asterisk of course. Smiley face asterisk. I smiled. Asterisk let's meet tonight. Winky face asterisk I sent, already looking forward to seeing him. What about your mate? I asked Liam. His expression softened. I visit him every day. Bring him whatever he might need. But he barely speaks. It feels like it took no time for you and your mate to connect, and I'm still trying to get mine to even trust me. Maybe he's had a difficult past, I said gently. He was a rogue. Who knows what he's gone through? Liam nodded slowly. And my father hasn't visited him at all, I added. He's too focused on everything else. That's true, Liam murmured. Has he told you his name yet? I asked. Luca. I nodded. When I become alpha, he'll be free. I promise you that. Liam clapped my shoulder. Thank you, Jackson. Really? Just be careful. If you try sneaking him out or doing anything reckless, that's all on you. He let out a breath. Yeah. I know. Later, I was driving down the road with Ben in the passenger seat after picking him up. So let me get this straight, Ben said, raising a brow. There's an actual road to your cabin, and yet you made me hike last time? I laughed. I thought it would be fun. Fun, he muttered, though the corner of his mouth twitched. We reached the cabin. I carried both our bags inside and returned to find Ben still on the stairs, gripping the railing. He looked pale. What's wrong, love? I'm okay. I've just not been feeling well lately, he admitted. What kind of symptoms? Nausea. Dizziness. Stomach cramps. I frowned. Come on. Let's get you lying down. Before he could argue, I carried him gently to the bedroom. He didn't protest much, just sighed softly as I settled beside him, rubbing his back. A head cold doesn't cause stomach cramps. His scent had shifted recently, too, subtle but noticeable. A possibility I hadn't expected began forming in my mind. He needs a test. When I glanced down, Ben had fallen asleep, breathing softly. I couldn't leave him alone, not when he wasn't feeling well. Then it hit me. I texted Liam. Liam, I need a favor. What's up? I need you to pick up a pregnancy test and bring it to the cabin. A pregnancy test? No questions. Please. All right. I'm on it. 20 minutes later, I heard his car outside. I carefully slipped out from under the blanket, tucking it around Ben before going downstairs. Liam was already walking up as I opened the door. He handed me a small paper bag, raising an eyebrow with a smirk. Don't even start, I warned him. I didn't say anything. He grinned. Before I could reply, a voice called behind me. Jackson? Ben was at the stairs, looking confused. Liam stepped inside, smiling. You must be. Bread, Liam? Ben interrupted. Liam burst into laughter. Bread, Ben. I blinked. You two know each other? Yeah. Ben giggled. I bumped into him during a bakery run and dropped all my bread. He felt bad and bought me more. Liam scratched his neck. Something like that. Well, Liam is my beta, I explained. I remember, Ben said warmly. Nice seeing you again. You too, Liam replied. Anyway, I'll head out. Before stepping out the door, he called, I wish you both a long, happy future, and maybe a house full of children. Goodbye, Liam, I said quickly, pushing him out the door as Ben laughed behind me. Once he was gone, Ben pointed at the bag in my hand. What was that about? What did he bring? I, just asked him to pick something up, I said. What is it? You've been feeling unwell, so I just wanted to rule something out. I handed him the bag. Ben opened it. His eyes widened. A pregnancy test? He looked at me uncertainly. Do you really think? I don't know, I said honestly, wrapping my arms around him. But no matter what the result is, we'll handle it together. Okay. Ben nodded. I'll take it now. We went upstairs. I waited on the bed while Ben went to the bathroom. After a minute, he returned. We have to wait 3 minutes, he said nervously, pacing. My mind raced. The thought of a child, our child, was overwhelming in a way I hadn't expected. Exciting. Terrifying. Beautiful. But the timing with my father. Still, the idea of a little Ben running around tugged at my heart. When the time passed, we walked into the bathroom together. Ben lifted the test with trembling hands. His breath caught. 2 lines. Chapter 10. Jackson's POV. We have options, I told Ben gently as he cried softly against my chest. Whatever you choose, I will support you. I promise. He lifted his face, eyes shining. I want to have our baby. I want us to raise a child together. I'm just scared, he whispered. I know, I murmured, pressing a soft kiss to the top of his head. I know. My mind raced as I tried to think logically about our situation. I still hadn't figured out how to tell my father about my mate, about Ben, and now this decision made everything even more delicate. But the moment I pictured a child who had Ben's soft brown curls and bright blue eyes, something inside me settled. I wanted that future. Ben wanted it too. If my father disapproved, then he would simply have to learn to accept it. 2 weeks later, my father had left for a few days to meet with the other alphas in the area. With him gone, I finally had time to relax with Ben in my own home. We lounged on the living room sofa, Ben stretched out with his legs across my lap. I held him close, brushing my hand over his stomach as we bounced around baby names. Okay, what about August? I suggested. Ben smacked my arm lightly. August? Jackson, I'm not naming our child after a month, he burst out, struggling to contain his laughter. Well, I don't hear you giving any ideas. I countered, leaning in to tickle him. His laughter echoed through the house, bright, warm, everything I adored. I stopped just to look at him. My beautiful mate. My partner. I hoped our child would look like him. I leaned forward to kiss him softly. He responded, hands sliding around me. Our lips moved together, slow and warm, filled with everything we felt for each other. I held him close, breathing him in, completely lost in the moment. Which is why I didn't hear the front door open. Ben jerked upright, and I stood with him just as my father walked through the entryway, Beta Vincent behind him. My father froze, eyes taking in every detail, the closeness, the flushed faces, the undeniable marks of our bond. Vincent's brows knit together in confusion, but my father's expression remained unreadable. I felt Ben trembling behind me, so I moved subtly to shield him. Father, I said carefully, you're home early. The meetings ended sooner than expected. His eyes narrowed. Explain this. Can we please talk about this calmly? I asked. What is there to discuss? He snapped. You bring some boy into my home the moment my back is turned? This is unacceptable, Jackson. Ben is my mate, I said firmly. There's nothing unacceptable about that. Mates? He scoffed. You truly believe he could ever stand as your Luna? I will not accept this. You don't get to decide, I said, meeting his gaze. The moon goddess already paired us. He stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. His alpha presence thickened in the air, heavy and suffocating. Cyrus, maybe we should, Vincent tried. Stay out of it, Vincent, my father snapped. I am the alpha. My word stands. Father, stop, I said, but my legs were already weakening beneath the weight of his aura. No son of mine will be mated to someone like him. No one will respect you as alpha if you choose this path. The pressure intensified. The air turned heavy. My chest burned. My vision began to blur. I sank to my knees, my body trembling uncontrollably. "Jackson!" I heard Ben's voice, panicked, distant. With the last bit of strength I had, I reached out to him through our bond. "Run." Benjamin's POV. I looked at Jackson, then at the Alpha advancing toward us. His eyes were cold, unyielding. Jackson's voice echoed in my mind. "Run." So I did. I bolted out the front door and sprinted down the steps, racing toward the woods. Rain poured down, soaking my clothes, mud splashing against my feet as I pushed myself faster and faster. Behind me, footsteps thundered. I glanced back, and the Alpha was gaining. My heart pounded. I pushed harder. Then suddenly, my legs locked. My body seized, and I tumbled hard onto the wet grass. The Alpha reached me in seconds. He flipped me onto my back, pinning me to the ground. Rain poured over us as he glared down, his posture towering and threatening. I tried to push him off, tried to fight, but he was impossibly strong. My strength faded. My vision blurred with rain and tears. The last thing I saw was the Alpha's cold gray eyes darkening before everything slipped into darkness. Chapter 11. Liam's POV. I pulled into the driveway of the house I shared with my father. I had just visited Luca, my sweet, precious Luca. More than anything, I wanted to take him with me, but I had no idea what Alpha Cyrus was planning. I stepped inside and was immediately met by my father, who gripped my shoulders with intensity and pulled me into a tight hug. "Liam, thank goodness you're home. Where have you been?" he asked. "Dad, are you okay? What's happening?" I pulled back to look at him. "It's Cyrus," he said, his voice heavy. My heart sank. "What happened? What did he do?" I asked, panic rising. Is he okay?" I added, dreading the answer. "Jackson, he found his mate." Cyrus saw them together and my father's voice faltered as if the words were too painful to say. My chest tightened. Not Ben. Not now. He took them somewhere. I don't know where." He was furious, Liam. "I think he's losing control," my father admitted. I didn't waste another second. "I have to get Luca. I can't protect him from here." I turned toward the door. "Liam," my father called after me. "It's not safe. You need to stay." "I'll be back," I said firmly. I jumped into my car and drove recklessly toward Luca. If Alpha Cyrus had turned on his own son, I didn't want to imagine what he could do if he caught Luca. I would take the risk myself. I would protect my mate no matter what. I arrived, parking at the back and entering through the door I knew the passcode for. The guard station was empty, thankfully. I grabbed the key and hurried to Luca's cell. There he was, sitting on the floor, knees pulled to his chest, chin resting on them. A stray lock of his blonde hair fell across his face. I forced myself to focus. I unlocked the cell, and his head snapped up. "Liam? What are you doing?" "Come on. We have to go." "It's not safe," I told him firmly. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice trembling. "There's no time to explain. Just trust me," I said. He nodded silently, grabbing the blanket I brought. I took his hand and led him down the hall, out the back door and to my car. "Get in," I urged. He obeyed without hesitation. During the drive home, Luca's eyes were wide, glued to me. "Are you going to tell me what's happening?" he asked quietly. "It's the Alpha," I explained. "He's turned on his own son. I don't know what he'll do next. But I can't let him hurt you." Luca shrank slightly in his seat. "I can't protect my mate if he isn't with me," I continued firmly. "I'm not leaving you alone when there's a dangerous Alpha out there." He didn't respond, only hugged himself tighter. When we pulled into the driveway, the sun was setting. We stepped inside, and my father was there almost immediately. "Liam, what? Who's this?" he asked, eyes flicking between Luca and me. "Dad, please," I said, stepping between them. "I need to protect him, no matter the cost." He paused, studying us, then softened. "Liam, is this your mate?" "Yes," I said firmly. "If there's a problem with that, you'll just have to accept it. I will protect him, from anyone, even you, if necessary." My father's expression softened further. "Son, I have no problem with this. My only concern is keeping him safe from Cyrus. I'm glad you found your mate. You won't need to protect him from me. Luca peeked at my father, who smiled warmly. I'm Vincent, Liam's father, he said gently. Luca, my mate replied softly. I'm glad to have you here, my father said, patting Luca's shoulder. We will do everything we can to keep you safe. Luca nodded. I led Luca to my bedroom and quickly headed to the walk-in closet to find him some clothes. Most were a little big, but they would do. When I returned, Luca was still holding the blanket close, eyes wide with wonder. I gently took it from him and placed it on the bed. For a moment he just looked at me. Then, suddenly he hugged me tightly. Thank you, Liam, he whispered. I will do everything I can to protect you. Always, I assured him. A single tear rolled down his cheek, which he quickly wiped away. I'm really looking forward to a proper shower, he admitted with a small laugh. I handed him the clothes I picked out. Right in there, I said, gesturing to the bathroom. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. Luca smiled and nodded, heading inside. I watched him for a moment, smiling. He was safe now, and that's what mattered. Later, he emerged with wet hair, wearing my oversized clothes. How was your shower? I asked. Nice. Thank you, he said, letting out the cutest yawn I had ever seen. Are you tired? I asked. He nodded and moved toward the sofa. I gently guided him toward the king-size bed instead. This is your bed tonight, I said firmly. No, the couch is fine, he protested. You'll sleep here. I'll take the sofa, I said, and he blushed, finally agreeing. I pulled the duvet over him and leaned close. His warm brown eyes met mine, wet lashes framing them. A few damp strands of hair fell across his forehead. He was so small and precious, and my heart ached to keep him safe. I pulled back, smiled, and walked to the sofa with a blanket and pillow. Looking back at Luca in the bed, I felt a rush of protectiveness. He was here. He was safe. That's all that mattered. And I couldn't help but worry. I really hope Jackson and Ben are safe too. Chapter 12. Jackson's POV. I awoke to darkness. My body ached, but my head throbbed even more. I tried to take in my surroundings, but I could see almost nothing. The air was cold. I stood up to explore, only to be stopped by iron bars about 15 steps away. What? I whispered to myself. I see you've finally woken, a familiar voice said from the shadows. My father stepped forward. Suddenly, everything came rushing back. Where is he? I demanded, gripping the bars. You don't need to worry about that, son, he said smoothly. If you touch him, I swear I will stop you. I shouted, my voice shaking with fear and anger. The familiar, oppressive pheromones rolled off him, making my body ache and my muscles weaken. I could feel Ben's presence through our bond. He was alive. Threats, are we? You have no power here, Jackson. You forced me to take matters into my own hands. You were reckless, he said coldly. Where is he? Where is my mate? I growled, teeth gritted, fighting the weakening effects. That boy? He is not your mate, my father replied. Do you know what our surname means, Jackson? What? It means to guard, to protect the pack. That kid is not what's best for the pack. I will stop you, I said through labored breaths. He pulled a key from his pocket, stepped closer, and gripped my throat lightly. You will be alpha one day. You cannot only think of yourself. You cannot be selfish. You have been immature. But don't worry. I will take care of your problem. He shoved me and I fell to the cold floor. You need to grow up, son. With that, he turned and disappeared into the darkness, locking the door behind him. Alone, I tried to reach Ben through our bond, but there was nothing. He was alive, but something was very wrong. Benjamin's POV. I shivered. Cold ran through me like fire. Every muscle ached. Slowly, I opened my eyes, adjusting to my surroundings. Stone floor. Chains. Chains attached to silver cuffs on my wrists. The cold metal burned my skin. I realized I was in a primitive-looking cell, made of stone and dirt, with silver bars. The air smelled faintly strange, unfamiliar. Where's Jackson? I tried to reach him through our bond, but a sharp pain shot through my head, blocking my connection. Tears rolled down my cheeks as I hugged my stomach, desperate to protect the baby. Footsteps echoed. My heart raced. The alpha appeared on the other side of the bars, unlocking the door and stepping toward me. I pressed myself against the wall, trying to keep as far away as I could. He knelt in front of me. His gray eyes were like Jackson's, but colder, crueler, radiating menace rather than warmth. Before I could react, he struck me across the face. Pain flared and I cradled my cheek. "Who do you think you are, trying to get close to the alpha's son?" he hissed. Then he grabbed the chains and yanked me to my feet. "Ah!" I gasped as the silver bit into my wrists. He forced me against the stone wall, his strength overwhelming. My vision blurred. I fell to the floor, clutching my stomach, desperate to shield the baby. "Did you think there would be no consequences?" he growled, kicking my side. I cried out in pain. "Please, just let me go," I begged, desperate for our child's safety. "You are correct. You will never see him again. You will never see the light of day again," he said, standing and leaving me on the cold floor. I lay there, shaking, tears streaming down my face. "Jackson," I whispered, my voice breaking. Thanks for listening to today's BL story. If it made your heart skip a beat, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Only here on BL Stories, where love knows no limits.